Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be going through my America's schedule predictions. I'm going to be going through every game in this video and picking who I think is going to win and who I think inevitably will make playoffs out of each group. I did the same exact video for EMEA and Pacific, along with power rankings for all three of these regions. So if you're interested in that, go check those videos out. They're up on my channel right now. You could also go check out my podcast. The link will be in the description. I do it with a few friends. We kind of just talk about what's going on in the Valorant scene. Like, it's not like overly complicated or anything. Yeah, we do all that stuff. We just had an episode come out the other day as I'm recording this, or it was last night as I'm recording this, and it'll be the other day as I'm uploading this. Also, go check out my Twitter. I'll be doing updated player rankings weekly. Over there, I'll just be tweeting out the list for all three regions. I'm not doing stuff about China. I'll probably start to add more players into my Chinese player rankings as I actually watch these players. But I'm not doing I'm not gonna tweet anything out or anything. I might tweet out some preds and stuff, but other than that, nothing like that. Also, go follow me on Twitch. I'll be doing VOD reviews on there whenever I miss a game or anything like that. So make sure to go check that out. Follow that, and the link is also in the description for that. Sorry, I'm stuttering and everything. But so I stopped doing that. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy, and let's get right into it. All right, and we'll start here with Sentinels, who I have going 3-3 despite winning Masters Madrid. Now, I don't think this necessarily shows how good of a team I think Sentinels are. I think they are better than this record, but I also just have a hard time seeing them actually trying. I think they lose week 1 to 100 Thieves with Curry, and I mean, is that too much of a shock to anybody, really? I just don't get how people are picking Sentinels. It's actual just bias at this point. They're playing with a content creator instead of their IGL and probably one of the top 3 fraggers on the team. Just doesn't make sense to me how they replace him even for one game. And they have a week of prac as well with Curry. It's not like they've been practicing with Curry. So yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me why people are picking that. But regardless, and I think 100 Thieves are a really good team. They performed fairly well in kickoff for being in the group of death. They fought with Leviatán, they fought with Sentinels. They were kind of close to beating both teams. They just kind of fell short at the end, didn't have enough of a fleshed out map pool. And that was with maybe a month of prac beforehand. So I don't know. I think they'll be a lot better in this game, and I think Sentinels will be a lot worse than they were at Masters Madrid in this game specifically. Then I think they lose to Leviatán, who could kind of have a blowing up of the roster here. Maybe not of the roster, but in terms of just falling apart and everything, which I think is definitely possible. But I don't think it'll come in week 2, and I think the individuals will get them through this game, which I think is what Sentinels is mainly going to be relying on throughout the regular season. Then they beat MIBR and EG, 2 teams that they stack up very well against in terms of individuals. And then Loud, a team that I don't think they stack up they stack up too. They're better than, but it's not like they can use the individuals to carry them through that game. And I think Loud is going to be better by week 4 or 5 whenever this is. So it's not you're playing Madrid Loud, playing the shitty comps and everything. And then Furia, I do think, is another team they stack up well against as individuals and can kind of blow through that. This still puts them in playoffs pretty comfortably, by the way, so I'm not don't be concerned that I have them missing playoffs or anything. I just don't think they're going to try too much throughout the regular season, especially in this group. Then next up, we have Loud, who I have going 4-1. I think they lose to NRG out the gate, especially with not being able to change too much of their comps or anything, and maybe not even having prac. And hell, maybe not even being able to play the game, considering visa stuff. That could be interesting. I don't know how they'd figure that out. But then I do think they coast through the rest of the season and destroy Cloud9 crew and G2, and then probably just beat Sentinels normally. I don't think they'll destroy them, even if Sentinels aren't really trying that hard. Historically, we've only had one instance of this, but Loud are very good in the regular season. They went 8-1 last year. Were also kind of coasting during that. Like they weren't showing too much during the regular season. I think if they kind of return to some more default normal comps, which I think historically when they've played the default normal comps, they have been better than when they play these weird gimmicky Phoenix KO Breach, when they played like the Neon KO Breach or whatever it was that they played on Fracture last year. Um, they've been better, or they've been worse when they play those kind of comps. So hopefully Sadak realizes this. Hopefully they return to some more normal comps. I don't think they'll go all the way back. I think they'll probably keep some comps like their Sunset comp. I think it actually works fairly well on. Ascent, not really anymore. I think it was like a good, just like pick it once and then never pick it again and go back to default. I think they should and will do that at some point. And overall, I just think same deal with Sentinels. I think just firepower wise, they stack up really well against Cloud9, Crew, and G2, and should be able to kind of walk through those games, especially with teams that aren't like super good historically any stratting. Yeah. All right, now on to NRG, who I have going 5-1. Now there is one game here sticking out like a sore thumb. I will address the MIBR game in a second. But I just want to talk a little bit more about this week one game first, and then maybe the games before it as well. I do think NRG is going to look a lot better than they did at kickoff. I don't know how much better, just because I did not like how they used Demon 1 at all. It didn't make, or I just didn't like their comps in general, actually. Like, it wasn't even like just their use of Demon 1. Like, putting him on Omen just doesn't make sense. Just put him on Astra or Brim or something like that. Play behind. Don't play no Sova or Breach or Raze on Sunset. It's just, there was just so much bad stuff from kickoff from NRG that I do have some reserve about this team, but I do think they are going to go 5-1 here. I didn't want to predict them to go undefeated, which is partially why I put the MIBR loss in here. But I do think they just beat Furia, who I think is the worst team in the league. Then they beat Leviatán, who, I mean, they're both very similar, and these two teams are super teams. And I just think NRG is a better super team and will have more structure and honestly better overall talent. And then MIBR here. I mean, NRG lost to them last year. Bazooka and Fraud have played against these guys many times. Maybe not many times, but played against them quite a bit. And I just think it's possible that they lose this game. Again, I have them going 5-1, and I'll spoil it. They are winning their group. So it's not like this game is going to cost them anything other than one championship point. And it's also not going to give MIBR too much, I won't lie. But then they close out the year with, or the split, I guess, with a win against EG and a win against 100 Thieves. Not super surprising there. Moving on. All right, next up we have EG. I have them winning week 1 against G2. I don't think this should be too much of a shock. I watched Plat Chat yesterday, and I think most of them picked G2, unless like 3 of them. I think 3 of them might have swapped back to EG, and it might have been 3-1. But I don't know. I don't have a ton of faith in G2 personally. And I don't know. I think this game is just going to be a Potter diff pretty much, as I think for most of these other games. C9, I don't see them losing. I think the firepower is pretty similar there, and I just trust Potter again in that game. Crew, I do have some concern that Kesnet will literally just drop the fucking BO3 kill record on them. But even if he does that, there's still a chance that EG wins, so I'm going to take EG in that game. And then I have them losing to the 2 top teams in Americas, or in NA at least. I have Loud over NRG right now. Just because I need NRG to actually show that they can use Demon 1 correctly and play good comps, specifically on Sunset and on Split. So, I don't know. I think they can. I don't. Energy is a whole separate thing. I have my small doubts about this team. I think they're still going to be very good and one of the top teams in Americas, and I still think they're going to qualify for Shanghai and everything. I just don't know if it's going to be as easy as people say it is. But as for EG, I think it's going to be kind of the opposite of last year. They're going to start out fairly hot, making top four in kickoff, winning their first 3 games here. Everybody's going to be like, "Oh my God, Potter did it again," and they're going to lose to these two top teams, and it's just going to be sad. Um, this does put them on like fringe playoff stuff. I'll talk about that a little bit later. Um, but yeah, and now onto MIBR, who I have going 2-3 here. Um, I think week 1 against Crew, or I guess this is week 2. I think it's kind of a toss up, but I think Crew is going to be a little bit better playing with Heat now in the second game that they play. And also, the main thing, it's just a firepower diff. Crew's going to shoot them in the face, and MIBR is going to lose. I think that's a big thing for me. I still don't like this MIBR roster, but I do like how they are playing together. Like, I think a lot of their ideas and everything are really good. I just don't know about so much the execution. Then losing Sentinels, not too much of a surprise. Then, as I said earlier, I do have them beating NRG midseason. I think this team should be getting a upset win over somebody. I just don't know who it will be necessarily. And NRG and Sentinels are the 2 teams that I would consider like actual big upsets. Maybe G2 would be a little bit of an upset, but I just think G2 again kind of diffs on the firepower kind of thing, and also they'll have good ideas. They have good IGLing and good structure, so they should be able to carry that game out. And then I have them beating Cloud9 again, just for fun at the end of the season. This doesn't really. I think this game means nothing in at least my schedule, so I think it'll also mean nothing at the end of the year. But yeah, moving on. So then G2, I actually have kind of the opposite of EG here. I have them losing these first 3 games. Obviously, I kind of talked about EG. I don't have a ton of faith in G2. I think they'll kind of start off a little slow, bringing in Icy here, probably playing the duelist role is what I'm projecting, but that could be wrong. It could still be Leaf and Icy on the Sentinel, but there have been reports that Icy's playing the duelist as well, so I do quite like the Icy move, but I don't know how well it's going to have them, or how well they're going to fare these first 3 weeks. I do have them losing against 100 Thieves, who I think will be fairly good. And then I have them kind of getting upset by Furia here, which kind of gets people to stop believing in them, everything like that. Like, I don't know. That's gonna be an upset win that I think I might be predicting at that point in the season as well. We'll have to see, depending on how good Furia looks. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really have a ton of thoughts. I think it's just an upset win. MW goes crazy. Havoc plays well. Yeah, I don't know. And then I have them beating Lev, who I think will be starting to like kind of collapse a little bit towards the end of the year here. Then beating MIBR, who I think they just have better firepower then, and G2 will start to get better at this point in the year. And then I don't think they're going to beat Loud. I think Loud's too good to lose that game. I think G2 does have a chance to go on a like 3-win streak here in the middle of the season. If they beat Furia, beat Lev, beat MIBR, then they can make playoffs. I also do think it is possible they beat Loud at the end of the year here, but I don't see it personally. Now moving on to Leviatán, who are a weird team here, I think, because I don't like how they looked at kickoff. I think they actually looked very bad comparatively to my expectations. I don't like a lot of the system here, where Calm is kind of being the main mid-rounder, being like the most confident mid-rounder in English. Tex, I don't love how he's fit into the system, having to play the Gecko like flex stuff. He has never been good at that. I don't know why teams I don't know why Lev is trying him on it again. Like there was some stat in split 1 of 2022 for Tex when he was actually playing the flex here for NRG, and it was like he hadn't gone positive in a series or something like that, and he just needs to play the Sentinel where he actually looked fairly good. I don't know why they were trying the Gecko on that map personally. That just didn't make sense to me. The mid rounding looks fine, and like the general ideas look fine, and I think My main issue with predicting them to completely fall apart and look like actually bad is the individuals here are too good for this team to not be at least okay. Um, like I think they will. There's a good chance that they severely like disappoint expectations or however you want to say that. Um, but I don't see them being bad, which is why I have them going 3-2 and being kind of a fringe playoff team here. Now on to C9 here, who I actually have going 1-5 and missing playoffs completely. I was initially a believer in this team to be maybe like a gatekeeper team to maybe punch up for like one of the splits and then kind of fall off the rest of the year. But like these roster changes, man, they're just not it. Like Rooney was not good last year on C9. I mean, maybe to start he was good, but like throughout the rest of the year he was eh. Vanity moving back to Smokes where he looked worse as an individual in the past. I thought he started to look better at the end of when he was playing Smokes and then like into like starting like and then he swapped over to Initiator like right after that and then was starting to do a lot better on the Initiator role as an individual, but worse as a caller, I think. So I think moving back to Smokes here could help him with his calling. I just don't know how much, you know? And then Moose coming in here, I think is a fine pickup. I don't know. I just this team is gonna be weird, man. Like I think they're gonna play some close games. I think they're gonna catch some people off guard with some weird shit. Oxy's gonna have some rounds here and there where people think he's like the best duelist in the world. I just don't get it with Oxy, man. I'm just not there where everybody else is. Personally, I just don't think he's as good as everyone says he is kind of the point. I said that in like three different ways, so I just wanted to make sure that that's what was getting across. Um, and yeah, I mean, I think they just get guy diffed by Leviatán, who I think it was Akum that said that on the podcast. I don't know if this video will go up before it or not. Um, and yeah, I don't know. Moving on, I'm just kind of rambling now, but C9 is not going to be good. Moving on to crew here, who I thought actually looked pretty good in kickoff, but are kind of forced to make a roster change here with MTA being out with an injury to his hand or wrist or whatever the hell it was. I just don't love the Heat pickup personally. Um, like I was already concerned about it, and then other people had brought it up, but like having two hothead duelist players on the same team just seems like a recipe for disaster. Um, I think week one these two teams are very similar between Crew and Furia, and I don't know how good Crew is going to look out the gate specifically, especially swapping over IGLs to Klaus, which I think is honestly the worst of the two moves. Um, like Klaus was the IGL when they went 0-9. Melzer has IGL'd them to their only wins in the past year and a half. So I just don't know why you would ever swap that over, especially when Melzer was not that good as an individual. Um, Throughout the course of the regular season last year. So I don't know. Doesn't make sense to me. Then I have them beating MIBR, just a firepower diff, as I said before, and then losing out to just four better teams, pretty much, is what that comes down to. Don't really think I need to explain too much about this. And yeah, moving on. And then next up here, we have Furia, who I have going 2-3, which is kind of better than what I expected heading into like doing these schedule predictions. I think they'll beat Crew week one. Just kind of, I don't know, beat them by just Crew being bad rather than Furia being good. Lose to NRG, lose to Cloud9, lose to Sentinels. And then mid-season, I think they'll kind of get an upset win over G2, which I kind of talked about, which is more so to do with G2 being bad again. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I don't think Furia will look as good as a 2-3 team, but they'll just get there somehow. So I don't know. schedules are weird sometimes with this. Like, I had Navi missing out on playoffs. If you want to go check out the EMEA video, that is a bit of a spoiler, but it's at the end of this video, so you deserve spoilers if you stayed for the whole thing and are actually listening to what I'm saying. But yeah, go check out that video if you want the actual thought process behind that. And yeah, there's sometimes some weird stuff that shakes out with the schedule. Now, this doesn't actually do anything for Furia. They're just 2-3 and missing out on playoffs, but going almost 500 is probably a success for this team, honestly, considering how little faith I have in them to do anything. And last up here, we have 100 Thieves. I've talked about all these games already, but I think week 1, they'll just get the win over Sentinels, just because Sentinels are playing with the content creator and without their IGL. Now, the rest of the season here, I just think they're better. They're a better team than G2, Cloud9, Crew, all in a row. Like, simply put, they're just a better team. I actually do think there's a good chance they beat NRG here, but again, I can't predict them to go undefeated. I refuse to predict anybody in Americas to go undefeated, considering how close these teams are. And yeah, I would be very pleased with this season as a 100 Thieves fan. This puts them firmly in the playoff conversation. And now, since I'm done talking about all the games, I'll go through who makes playoffs and who does not. So we'll just go through what I have the results being here. Actually, we'll bold this so it's easier to see. But this is the full schedule. In case anyone's curious, if you're going to pause the video and look at this, I'm not going to talk too much about it. There might be some of these that are incorrect because I changed stuff around a few times after I put in the final records. So if the math is wrong there, fuck you, I don't care. But these are all correct. I have Energy winning Group A at 5-1, Sentinels and G2 making playoffs behind them. I really don't think Group A is very strong at all, but I think G2 kind of limp into the playoffs here. Maybe I said they missed when I was talking about that because they're 2-4, but I just assumed at that point. And then in Group B, I have either Loud or 100 Thieves winning. I do want to swap the order around here because I actually do have 100 Thieves winning the group personally, just because I think they'll beat these teams by more than Loud does, and like the round/map differential will work out in 100 Thieves' favor. And then same thing for EG and Lev. I think EG will actually beat, or I think it's more so that EG is going to be closer with these teams than Lev will be in these games. I think this game will be very close, but like I think the Sen game is going to be super close. I think the C9 game could be super close, and I think that could lead to Lev being left out of playoffs here. So my 6 playoff teams are Loud, 100 Thieves, EG, NRG, Sentinels, and G2. Regardless of the order you want to put them in, I do think these will be the 6 playoff teams personally. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. I'll just make sure to bold this actually, so you can see it better. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one, probably for whatever region ends first. I'll probably do power rankings right after the week ends for that region, and then I'll do pick'ems the day before the next week starts. So I think it's EMEA that ends first, but that could be wrong. But regardless, I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.